Dear Alexander, thank you very much for being part of our first Tech at Scale event here in Paris, BCG. First, can you remind us a bit on what is really different and new with Gen AI compared to traditional AI or data analytics that, as you said, you've been doing for quite a while?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Charles. It was a pleasure to be here. Gen AI, I think, is in two ways really different. First of all, it's the democratization that we experience with the usage. Out of a sudden, AI is no longer a question of experts, but it's indeed a question of everybody. Everybody can use it. And secondly, we are able to use unstructured data in a much better and a much more in a much faster way than we have done in the past. And this, of course, is in both ways a huge explosion of the potential use cases out of a sudden. And we as an insurer in particularly, I would assume we have like 80 to 90% still data that are, stored in scanned documents, in other unstructured ways and forms. For us, it is a big opportunity to tap into that pool of unstructured data that otherwise we would have been very cumbersome, transformed into kind of structured and better readable and better analyzable data. So for us, indeed, it's a big step. It's really a big thing, and we have seen in the speed of adoption that is really a difference.
Now, maybe follow-up question as an insurance nerd, because Gen AI can have impact with unstructured data, but looking at the insurance value chain, where are you expecting most impact going forward?
So first of all, data in AI is not new to us as an organization, so we have a lot of use cases already, and we see already traditional AI use cases delivering a lot of value along the whole value chain, be it in sales, in service, in pricing, in underwriting, in claims, but also in support functions. And I expect the same actually with generative AI. That's one of the reasons why we first deployed a secure GPT version for all our employees so that they can test it, even though there might be no access specific information in it, but they can test it in a secure and safe environment and also in a compliant environment. That being said, when we instill our company-specific data into generative AI with a RAG approach or sometimes even with a fine-tuned model, there are certain areas where we believe we will very quickly see additional value. So the first one is at the customer interaction with our distribution partners, so you can call it hyper-personalization. We always struggled as an industry to bring voice and non-voice information together to get a real full view of the customer. And that's a big area where we can very quickly see advancement. A second one is in augmenting our service people, our claims people, our underwriting people with providing them on-the-spot information, even in complex cases where otherwise they have to look up and search for a lot of information. The third area is in underwriting and also in pricing, where we just collect data in a much more interpretable way, be it even pictures, because we are in the midst of the multimodal evolution of Gen AI that will help us to assess risks, particularly in the commercial space, to assess claims, to assess larger nat-cat events, for instance. This will also be a game changer. And finally, to analyze our portfolios, I think generative AI can also help a lot if we put some structure into it with knowledge graphs or other things, so that we also understand what is our risk exposure of our whole portfolio of risks that we have in our in-force business. So a lot of opportunities, a lot of potential.
Thank you, Alexander. Maybe one last question, particular to AXA, and given the fact that you are a very large international and quite decentralized group, to what extent do you expect or do you need to develop and deploy this technology in a specific manner in order to really benefit from the scale of the group going forward?
Indeed, I think that's one of the key points at all. This is a huge transformation. We have to change the behavior of many people and also have to convince them, and we have to upskill them. So the change management effort is probably the largest, has various components. upskilling and training. Whenever we roll out something, we have, of course, also to make sure that the training for all the people and the users is available, but also collect the feedback. The second is we need to make sure that we do it in a very responsible way and also have a clear compass as an organization, because democratization always means empowerment of the front line. So our people need to know how to use it, and GenAI, as we all know, is not giving you the truth. It gives you the most probable answer. Whether this exists or not is a separate question. So we have to think very carefully, of course, also about how we do decision making, leveraging GenAI. That's why we typically use it in an augmented way. But I don't know what will happen in the next couple of years, so things might progress as well. And thirdly, I think it is also a question of having the underlying architecture and having the underlying foundations, particularly when it comes to data. Let's not forget, with all AI application, and for GenAI it's the same, 80% of the work is making the data ready, cleaning the data, having it in a reasonable and in a good architectural setup. Otherwise, it doesn't work, and we have the usual garbage in, garbage out phenomenon.
Thank you so much, and really glad to have you together with us today. Thanks.